Welcome to House Business, the podcast where we give you business ideas on the house. I'm your host, Nicole.
And I'm your host, Mark.
And each week we give you a new business idea. We talk about the business idea, debate it, talk about all the considerations and things you might want to consider if you would decide to take it on.
And this week I'm presenting The Dot.
This right here feel like money. This right here feel like money. Ooh. Money moves. Ooh. Money moves. Ooh. This right here feel like money. This right here feel like money. Ooh.
I did have a question for you today, Nicole.
Okay.
That I wanted to know. If you could get really, really, really good at a sport, anywhere in the world, doesn't have to be here, what would you pick?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
any sport,
I think
anywhere in the world.
my mind, immediately, my first reaction, and I want to think on this, but my first reaction went to running,
Okay.
long distance endurance running or sprinting, like being a sprinter. I think that would be awesome to be I'm the fastest person in the world. But I think that would just be incredibly hard. But long distance, because I think so much could play into that. Maybe that or biking even. Now I'll say biking, a Tour de France type thing.
I'm going to veto the biking one. The biking one. Long-time listeners would know my hatred for bikers. Go on.
Yes. Mark does not like bikers. And if you need to revisit that, gosh, I don't even know what episode that's from, but does not
Gotta scroll back a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to veto that one. But that
okay.
the running one's good.
I'm other sports in terms of a team sport, I'm not sure. I guess, what are you thinking, Mark? What would you pick?
I've had some time to think about this, and I would definitely be ping pong for sure. And I have a few reasons.
Okay.
Table tennis, to those who know it that way. I would never lose at a party, number one.
Okay.
So I hate losing ping pong matches at a party. And two, I could do it forever, because what kind of injuries are you going to get playing ping pong?
I like this. So where were you playing ping pong when you thought of this question? Mm-hmm. Now I'm very intrigued by what you were doing when you're I'm going to ask Nicole about this.
I was playing ping pong with my brother, my youngest brother. And the match just got so intense, and there was so much trash talk happening that I cannot lose this no matter what happens. If I gotta kick his knees out, if I gotta throw him across, I don't know what I gotta do. I will do whatever to win. And I was thinking, I wish I was really good at this, and then it would never be a question ever again.
I can see where that competitiveness maybe came from, because I have played a different game with a ping pong ball with your brother, a beer pong style. That's not really what it was, but I really wanted to beat him at that as well. So I can see maybe where that came out a little bit, because he was pretty intense with that game. So I can only imagine with ping pong.
But by the way, I saw a side of you that day that I've never seen. I mean, your competitive nature, you were ready to tackle people. You were ready to throw people.
Yeah, I could throw down for some drinking games anytime.
It was awesome.
I can be ready to go. But okay. That's interesting that ping pong is where you went. I like that we're thinking of, I think being amazing at team sport would be, I don't know. I don't even know what I would pick. So they'd all be fun, I guess.
I was sort of thinking, because you recently went to Japan, that you were going to maybe say baseball. Which is why I was thinking that
baseball would be awesome. I did just get back from Japan, and we went and we saw the Tokyo Giants play. Mm-hmm. It was suggested to go see Japanese baseball. I didn't realize it was such a thing, or a vibe, I guess. They chanted every single time their team was up to bat, they stood and had chants for every single player. Every player at bat had a different chant that the whole stadium did. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Honestly,
and even
it
the
sounds
away
electric.
team. Yeah. Even the away team had a full section, and they did it too. So just very different than baseball here. And it was one of my favorite things that we did.
Which baseball here is great, by the way. I love a good Cubs game. Don't get me wrong. But the way that you were, we briefly talked about it and how it looked like a totally different level of things.
It was. And now I want to be able to find it. So if anybody out there listening has a way that I can watch Japanese baseball, I mean, I don't think it's going to be the same, but I would totally be into following along with how my Tokyo Giants are doing. I think it'd be great.
Yeah. That's got to be you got to put a little plaque behind you for the Tokyo Giants.
Right. I'm okay, Chicago Cubs fan, also Tokyo Giants fan.
Yeah. So they're never going to compete against each other. So.
Yeah, I have had people reaching out to me, though. I posted a few pictures of being at the game, and they have said that I did not even experience the craziest of stadiums. So they were saying what I saw was tame, which what I saw was amazing. So, I mean, and it was also a really great game. They were down 7-0, and they ended up coming back. They still lost, but I mean, it was very high action. So I can only imagine going to one of these crazy stadiums and seeing, and I guess maybe it's just a reason to go back now. So we'll see.
I've heard nothing but good things. So it's on my list for sure. So Nicole, would you like to talk about the dot today?
Yeah, I want to hear about it. What is what type turning of idea this is?
Okay. So we all know what the concept of an AirTag is. Right? You put your AirTag on things and you can track it. Wallets, there's, wallets. You can put it on keychains, things, bigger ticket items like that. So I'm proposing the dot, which is a tiny, tiny version of an AirTag where you can print it out in sheets. So it's a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
Where you can stick it to items that you wouldn't want to lose, that might be smaller than an AirTag would make sense for, or, how many people really have a lot of AirTags coming around. And this is the cheaper alternative to things that you don't want to lose on a night out. Chapstick, water bottles, older laptops, and things like that. So
I'm smiling already at chapstick because I'm that is the number one thing people lose. Okay.
Totally.
Okay, I'm hollering.
And the way I'm envisioning it too is, I know I said like a piece of paper, or you could print it out, but I'm thinking of it almost the size of a postage stamp, or something the size of a dot that you could put on your thumb, the size of your thumb. So that's kind of where the idea goes.
I first because I started laughing already about chapstick. How did you think of this idea, Mark? Or how did this come to you?
I was driving home one night. I went on a brief trip with my family, and I was coming back, and I was like, do I have everything that I need to take home? Because they were staying in a different state, and I just drove back home. And I was like, that'd be a real bummer if I left my work ID or my bag, probably not my bag, but let's say some smaller things like my charger for my computer, which would be important to, work from home and things like that. And I was like, is there any way to do this where I've personally found AirTags, though effective, absolutely, a bit clunky.
Okay.
And you can't necessarily put it on everything that one could think to bring. So I was trying to come up with a solution of how would I know to turn around? How would I know that I've left this in a specific place? And that's kind of where the idea comes from. It also stems a little bit from one of my previous ideas of the, kind of the inventory shipping system where you're tracking things. But this is that was more of an in the house kind of idea. And this is more of a out in the world idea.
So for the listener, Mark's inventory idea was episode Keep Safe. So if you want to go back and listen to that one as well. But I guess my first question with this, so having just gotten back from Japan, we did take quite a few AirTags with us. So, I have lost my luggage an insane amount of times that I always have one with me in my luggage. But also, we found that they can be convenient. We handed them out to different people in the group, or sometimes when we travel, we'll actually give them to the kids, just if we're going to be in a dense populated area. But I'm curious, how you view this technology working, if you're able to print it. Not that you have to have all the answers, but how do you picture that working?
So I'm proposing this more as a cheaper, more universally applicable thing than an AirTag. AirTags can be expensive. They can fall out of your bags. Absolutely. You put them in your luggage. Makes perfect sense. You keep on. But let's say you lost the AirTag. You left the AirTag at the hotel. It came out of your bag. I'm proposing this as a sticker so that it stays on the item that you're keeping or you want to keep track of. So luggage was one that came to mind. But like you said, there are alternatives for that. So I'm sort of proposing this as a competitor to that. I'm proposing this as a cheaper solution so that you can use it for cheaper items that, let's say, is not worth an AirTag, but is still worth some amount of money that you don't want to lose. An expensive water bottle is something that comes to mind. You can't put an AirTag on that. And if this sticker is able to be put on there, then you'd be able to track it. And the reason that I'm saying it sort of in a paper, I'm saying printing as in not just like printing from a paper printer, but like, they have those tech printers.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Like a microchip kind of thing.
Yeah. I was thinking, I think I went to like, you're printing this off your computer. So that is more helpful to think through. Taking this like a step further, and this is a question I've never thought about. You think of the AirTag, which is an Apple product. Yeah. Are there other, like this Samsung, I think of people that don't use Apple products or iPhones, like, are there other brands of AirTags, or is that kind of a technology that is, I would highly doubt Apple is the only one that has that patented and used, but have you heard of other brands or?
Yeah.
I'd be curious about that.
I've heard at least the main one that comes to mind is a somewhat competitor. If you've ever heard of Ridge Wallet, it's a very kind of popular type of wallet. I think I have one right here. I use one. It's just like kind of a smaller, sleeker version. I mean, mine's pretty beat up, but things like this. And they have a version where you can put basically a credit card in there and use that as a tracking chip. And it's very sleek. You can put it in there. Again, that might not be as universally applicable, but that is a competitor that would work. A card format wouldn't work in every situation because you still have the problem that it could still fall out, or if it's not attached properly or things like that. People lose AirTags all the time, and then those can be costly to replace, especially if you're giving it out to lots of people, like you said, for your family. So yeah, that's pretty much that. I'm sure there are others that are similar to that with like bigger competitive brands, but from everything that I've seen, they stay pretty much the same size because you're recharging them. I would assume a big portion of that is the battery that you're going to have in there, and then that increases the size. So I'm proposing this is sort of maybe a more closer to a one-time use type of thing, so that when you, let's say, just print out a bunch of them, you can use it on different trips, different nights, and they can be tiny because you have less in there.
Yeah, I love it. I did not realize like the AirTags had batteries until mine started chirping at me. I was like, how is this thing making noise? And then quickly found out like, oh, you got to change that. So I think that makes sense in terms of like cost, how you could maybe keep the cost down or the size. Mm-hmm. If you're putting it on something as small as chapstick, which I'm just going to keep using that because that's probably what I tend to lose the most. Or, you're always like looking for that somewhere. But if you're putting it on something that small, how are you like do you think the technology that's workable to the product you're talking about, along with the cost, keeping it minimal that consumers are going to want to buy this for the types of products you're talking about, as well as for the company to overall like make a profit and have overhead with it?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And that's the same kind of question I think I'll always ask you. Right. But I think, chapstick is just one example. But let's just say it's a ring or a type of jewelry or something that can be discreet enough that you can take it on a trip there. And the cost value for what you're protecting, let's say, makes more sense. So I'm not saying necessarily that you would use this for things that are $1 at any store. Let's just say there's sentimental value for things that people keep on them. All kinds of reasons you'd bring smaller items on let's say, a trip or a night out. I think the value is going to come more so in people who would buy this product saying, it's worth $1 in case I lose this tonight, that I'd be able to find it. You could get into things like theft too, and you could be able to track it if it gets stolen or something like that. Another one that I had thought of that is a little bit more to the point is like, let's say you're bringing a laptop or a Kindle or something like that, where it's like kind of doesn't make sense to put an AirTag on it necessarily. And a lot of older laptops don't have GPS capability with them. I know Apple products do, but those are expensive. And I think that price point keeps a lot of people out from using those products, even if they might last longer. So I'm thinking that this is sort of an alternative to that of like, I have let's just say I have a 3-year-old, 5-year-old laptop that I'm like, it works perfectly fine. I have to take it on business trips or whatever I have to do with it. Is it worth putting an AirTag on this or let's say a dot on this, stick it on there, very discreet. No one will even notice and it won't fall off. So I hope that answers your question. But the
It
cost
does.
ratio is based on kind of what you value and what you think is important. So a ring might be a little bit too small, but let's just say bigger jewelry pieces or things like that, you could stick it on the back. And like I said, there's a lot of sentimental value as well to, I think, take into consideration.
So if you're printing these, I want to like stay on the cost for a minute. Like you're printing these out.
Sure.
What do you, and I don't even know, I guess, what AirTags are going for right now. I think they're fairly inexpensive though, or at least like I think the cost is always coming down with different deals and stuff. Like how much do you envision like paying for one of these? Like I love the concept of having this be small and discreet, having multiple, but what kind of like price point are you thinking, or have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to depend on the manufacturing cost of, let's just say, the chip, or because I'm sort of envisioning a chip with a kind of an adhesive side on the back so that you can go on any surface. If you can lower it to something that's less than $5 a page or something like that, something that where it's like, it's so much lower because you've got so much less in it, and adhesive is cheap, that's basically tape, I think. I don't know. Glue, whatever is on the back of a sticker.
A dot, like a sticky dot, since it's called a dot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Bring it back to that.
You sort of have to get into the manufacturing portion of it, but really it's the battery. I'm trying to remove the battery from there because that will always take up substantial space in smaller items.
Yeah, I like it. So I got a strong rebuttal for you here.
Hit me.
So prepare. So at first when you're talking about this, I'm like, I love this. And I'm like, okay, I can see a world where I'm going out with my friends and I'm like sticking one of these on everyone, right? I'm like, okay, like let's all find each other, you know? And I think a lot of us, do find your friends anytime I go on trips. We just all did that with the entire group I went to Japan with. Yeah. However, I think maybe a hurdle of this product, and it kind of hit me at the same time I was thinking of how great that would be, is the idea, as a female, I'm going to, well, what if somebody sticks this on me? Like, I don't even know this is stuck on me. So thoughts about maybe like those concerns, and maybe that's, far too into the weeds for whoever's taking this product and deciding to run with it. But I think the privacy and maybe, I guess, like the idea of having an unintentional stalker is like where my idea kind of went to. So what do you think about that? So
I have a couple rebuttal, because I did think of that too. And that was brought up to me as I was sort of discussing this idea with people, because that's a very real concern. And, as a guy, you don't necessarily think about that kind of thing in terms of safety. So couple points to that. And some of them are tweaks and some of them are more kind of encased in the product. So I guess number one, I would say the limited battery life as both a really one of the features of it is that it is for, like, let's say, limited use, because again, if you're removing battery, it won't last as long. So it might be a one-time event. So number one, it could time out. So that's one. But of course, you could also say that what if somebody put that on me tonight and is looking for me tonight, right? Which is a totally valid concern. The way I'm envisioning it, these would map to your phone, similar to that of a Find My Friends. The interface would be, again, similar to an AirTag. Since it would be mapped to you specifically, you could have a mass shutoff button. So let's just say, throughout the night or at the end of the night, or as you leave the bar, you're like, okay, great. I've got everything that I need. I've checked everything, like you would do anyways, for the most part. But you could have a shut off at the end and say, like, all right, well, I'm leaving the bar. Boom, done. So that's one of them. I think a small tweak that I would say in rebuttal to that is that you could have something. It might make it a little bit bigger, but to have some sort of sounding chip in there of saying, like, okay, where are all my things? Like, if I click this one, is a sound going to go, or are there anyone's near me? So like I said, if it's mapped to, let's say somebody else takes this product and puts it on you, right? Like you could say, like, universally detect other ones around me, and then it could light up. So a bit of a tweak. And so that would make it probably a little bit bigger, but having the capability to scan for other ones near you would be how I would rebuttal that.
Well, I think that's similar technology to the ones that already exist. Like, I've gotten those notifications before saying, like, do you have one on you, or one is near you? Beware, you could be being tracked. And oftentimes it is like a friend. I think it's wild that cell phones can already pick up on that technology and know, but it's really cool, and probably something that you'd be able to be integrate pretty easily. Okay, so if someone takes this idea and wanted to get going with developing an AirTag technology that is smaller, like a dot, what do you think would be like the first steps? Or I think, who do you think of as like taking this product and developing it?
In terms of tech capabilities, I think you would be selling to kind of the big distributors. So like the Apples, like the Microsofts and other competitors in the field, because they have the tech know-how. I think this is a really good prototype to kind of present to them. They'd be selling to all of their normal customers. This is just a more convenient version of an AirTag, which is, relatively convenient, but not necessarily universally applicable. If somebody were to take this idea, I think the first question would be prototyping the tech, number one. And then number two, how do you manufacture it in a way that it actually is printable, you can order in mass, that would make you able to get kind of ahead of the cost.
Yep. Again, just even thinking on like the concept of, does any sort of other size of AirTag exist? Or, even you mentioning that there's like the ones that look like kind of a credit card, taking this concept, making it smaller, sending you and me these products to test, like we'd be happy to do that. But that is like an intriguing, I think, business concept all around, just because I can't picture any other sizes of these. And I think it's like everyone, AirTags are just so frequent anymore that everyone's just very used to seeing them. So I think there is room in the space to develop something smaller.
I sort of took this as an innovation on a product that does already exist, but is there a way to tweak it? Is there a way to tweak it? Instead of going to a kind of more expensive version of it, I took the approach of kind of, what could everybody use? And everybody has smartphones. So I would say relatively easy integration that way. And then really it's just, how do you design the product to be as small as I'm envisioning, or as small as it can be?
I was thinking, as you were sharing that, of like how you could scale this business. And it would be interesting. So while we're talking about like the personal side of small items like your keys or your chapstick, I was thinking of devices that already are maybe tracking or trackable. And I went to, if you have a company laptop, a company car, like there's already devices in those that the company can basically track you at any time. Yeah. And from there, the thought of like, I'm thinking of other very expensive products that companies might be giving out, like tools. If you're working for a construction company or in the field where an individual may have just hundreds of thousands of dollars in their truck or on them at a given time. Not to say that you're necessarily putting them on every single item, but maybe your higher, more valuable items that at a company tend to walk off or tend to be of concern. So I think even taking this from personal and taking it to a business side, specifically, that's where my mind is going to. Or even I can imagine in like the medical field, the idea of things kind of, I just keep saying walking out the door or walking off. Sure. Like it'd be such a great way for, I think, employers to track their own inventory and their own items that they own, while over time, like that's going to save a ton of money. That's maybe just, I think, another way that you could use this product and really, if you are developing it, like really scale it quickly.
Honestly, construction is a really, really good addition. Honestly, I had thought of it more as personal items, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, as a company, are you going to invest on putting AirTags on all of those things? Are you going to, companies already assumes that there's going to be some kind of loss in the equipment over time, and they sort of plan for that. Imagine you could cut that down to half just by being able to GPS track something. I mentioned that this would have a limited life cycle. Let's just say it's a job site for the day, right? Because by the end of the day, all of those tools are locked up, supposedly, or hopefully, right?
Yep.
Instead of walking off. Just putting on one of these stickers doesn't impede the ability to use the tool, and you could reapply it every day. So those are relatively inexpensive fixes to the cost of the product. Great addition. And I think that applies to lots of different things, I think, different fields.
Yeah, I just, I work in the utility space. So I've been in a warehouse environment for the last several years, or even just having family members, growing up around different warehouses where not even like, okay, let's say it's not even the walking off, but sometimes you'll have very specific tools from one job to the next, kind of like what you're saying. You want to think everyone's putting it where it goes, but if you're working busy construction season, it can get misplaced between trucks pretty easily. So it would just be a really nice way to track that. And again, if you were able to get into the door of maybe a major company with that selling point, I think, that would be a great way to get the business started, along with, the personal reasons like we were talking about as well, but really to get some of these products sold off the bat.
If you were to take this idea, I think selling to both is maybe the best way to do it, because you're going to be dealing in quantity rather than individual quality of the products. The overhead isn't going to come from each one being expensive. The cost is going to be, all right, how much do I actually have to make, and how many orders am I actually going to be getting of this? And I think just widening that market to businesses that may need it and can't invest in an AirTag for everything, or other similar, a credit card, like the example I used earlier, wouldn't work, for, I'm just thinking of like a drill. It's just an expensive hand drill. There's, as far as I know, no real way to track that other than making sure that it comes in at the end of the day. And like you said, you're sort of just relying on your employees to do it. And sometimes that's not always the case. So that's a great pivot, honestly, in terms of marketing.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I would love to have this. For me, I think the biggest challenge that whoever takes this on, it will be the technology exists. We know that. We've talked about that. But how to get that technology into a smaller, I do like your concept of like a sticky dot that is taking away the battery. It's making it more inexpensive. But how to have the technology and scale it down where it's affordable and people can stomach the idea of having multiple of these, seeing why they would need them. I think it's trying to figure out like how to get the cost is going to be the biggest challenge, like at a place where the consumer can see the benefit.
Well, and think about an event that's only a day, like a wedding might be perfect. I would imagine that you'd be bringing a lot of things in combination with what already is there. And you'd like to make sure that it's at least in the same area that it was when you brought it. And for smaller events, even, something like a House of Heidi event comes to mind, where you're bringing a lot of your own decorations and equipment, and a lot of it I'm sure is relatively inexpensive, but let's just say on the overall, bringing the whole bundle back to use for later, for future uses, would save you a lot of money in the long term.
Well, and I don't, with House of Heidi, I don't want anyone walking off with my Carson Daly cutout. So I see the benefit there too.
Very important.
I thought you had some really great rebuttals to the questions I had. So what do you see as like the pros and the challenges?
I'll start with the pros. I think the pros are, I think there is a need for a product that is, let's say, more convenient for all kinds of uses rather than individual uses where an AirTag might make more sense, such as keys. And if you can do it in a wallet form, a wallet, I'm proposing this is a cheaper alternative to that. So I think the pros are, it's discreet and you can use it for all kinds of purposes. And like you said, I think the construction tools are a great pivot. I think for medical device purposes, also an extremely good pivot, and something that is only tracked when it's put back where it's supposed to go. Maybe 9 times out of 10, it makes it exactly where it's supposed to go. Or 95 times out of 100, it makes it where it's supposed to go. But those 5 times that it doesn't make it where it's supposed to go, I'm just thinking of like a hospital, for example. If it's on the wrong floor, that's going to cost you time, that's going to cost you money. And you might be in a situation where somebody who's specialized to use that equipment isn't transporting it properly. So I think there's a lot of wide uses for it, and being cheaper, obviously, because you're pulling out some of the hardware that is needed for something like an AirTag. Obviously, the cons, I think discreet goes for both. I think discreet goes for pros and it goes for cons. Like you said, it absolutely has a safety concern to it. I think there are some workarounds. I think you could probably want to focus on that maybe first and foremost. Then the second one, other than, a sort of privacy and safety concerns, would be, how do you do it? Which is a question out of my expertise.
Yeah, I think somebody in this realm of printing and chips could figure this out. Like, that's not, our expertise, but, I'd be curious, like, how this could look, like the design, because when we're talking about it being discreet, it's like, how are you making the chip? I'm like picturing, like for the listener, like a scrapbooking sticky dot where like literally a dot where it's like double-sided sticky. And so it's like, how is the chip or how is that looking like if you could get it to even be just still transparent where it's kind of all matching and sticking in. And it'd be a great product to have like a subscription based model for of like, if you are signed in and you are fully committed to these, you could be printing them off or getting bulk up front, or even just like signing up where it's kind of coming to your door for whatever need you might have as well. I was thinking when you talked about water bottles, we're getting ready for like back to school season, and
that too.
Just the parents that their kids are going to go to school with brand new stuff and how much kids lose all the time. Like, I think there's a lot of uses for this. I think the need is out there. And I would agree with you. Like, the safety concern is probably number one you need to figure out. And then also someone in the tech space, I think could do this. It's figuring out how to do it and then just reproducing it.
Yeah. And so and sort of kind of going with that point is this technology exists in some form already. So really it is just coming up with the idea and how do you sell it? I'm really thinking this less so of an individual sort of taking this on and then sort of living in the whole manufacturing space and doing that whole thing by themselves, and more so co-opting things that already are a well-oiled machine. It is different enough that you'd be able to market it in a way that it can go for anything.
I'm always surprised in public, like when I do see AirTags that people are using, or like I saw a really cool phone case that had one, which, obviously like your phone has a Find Mine feature, or I've seen keychains with them. And I just always am surprised and think like, wow, I should do that because that's an item I lose. So I think there's a need for something like this. I could see a lot of people getting on board with it. I mean, we just listed how many ways you could use this product in a very short amount of time. So I think the possibilities are endless. And this product has, I think, the potential to make a ton of money if you can figure it out. So when you take this product, definitely take us on your mega yacht, because you're going to be very, very rich. So take us on your mega yacht, and we'd happily drink champagne and have fun with you.
Yep. And I'll put a dot on my life jacket whenever I'm on the yacht, because we deal in safety here. So that's important.
Be perfect. I love it.
I can't wait to see you on your dot yacht.
Dot yacht. Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on House Business.
Hey, now feels like a great time to mention that this podcast is produced by My4 Creative.
Couldn't think of a better time than now.
They work with businesses and organizations on all their video marketing needs, and they make it a super simple process.
I hear they're doing podcasts now. Is that true?
It is. New this year, they are offering podcast production, which is super exciting.
And believe me when I say, they make you look and sound your absolute best.
We look awesome. Learn more at my4creative.com. My4 Creative, video production simplified. Now, back to business. So, Mark,
yes.
I first want to start by giving a shout out to our episode 12, The Right Club. We got some great comments on social media that they would also love to see that this product could exist. So for the listener, our last episode, The Right Club, it was a concept that I introduced about a set of golf clubs that would have descriptions, or what we kind of determined like emojis, that's what I call them, or signs that could teach you how to use the set of golf clubs. And I just wanted to give our listeners, Lindsay and Joe, a shout out, because they thought the idea was really great and they were interacting on social media, and I thought it was pretty cute. So maybe one of you guys should take this concept, or if anyone else takes the concept already, there's people that are, I think, interested in purchasing it. So I think that's good.
Yeah, I love the golf club idea. I went mini golfing recently, and I was like, I don't need this now, but let's just say I was real golfing.
I would need it.
I would have no clue what club to use. So would love one of those right clubs with the right emojis on it too.
I'm actually in a golf outing coming up in a couple days. And so maybe I'll like start putting stickers on them or something. Maybe I'll make this prototype and just kind of figure it out. So
yeah, we'll just take it now.
I think that's a good idea. I also, we got some feedback. So we received some general feedback, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, that we need to be a little more tough on each other, that we both kind of always end up liking the ideas at the end. And, I had thoughts around that when I heard the feedback, but what do you think?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. I would. I feel like you gave me some pushback today, which is great because it makes you kind of get into the depth of what the product is and kind of solve some of those problems for people ahead of time, which is kind of the whole reason we're doing it. So I love. Yeah. I hate that idea. Just
hate that idea. There you go. I think my response to the feedback was I also agree. I think usually we push back about something or there's like a portion of each idea, but I don't know. This is our 13th episode that's about to drop right now. And so far, I haven't hated any of the ideas. I think, there's definitely challenges that if you take the idea, you're going to have to work through. But so far, I think we've kind of talked through them and at least you've convinced me that they're solid ideas if people work through them. So, yeah.
Well, and at the very least too, I guess to that point is more so like the ideas that you come up with. And even if there's a component that either one of us don't like about the ideas, there's always something in there that is worth value. Like there are things in there, whether the whole product works, maybe it works in a different field. I'll just take today's example. It's perfect. I hadn't even considered selling it to businesses before you said that, but it would be so much better used rather than just kind of sticking with the original idea. It morphs over time. So we sort of bounce back and forth as to what's the best version that we can come up with as you and I.
I would agree with that the best part of the House Business Podcast is you can kind of take portions of the idea, maybe not the full episode, but I think there's always something. And I think even when we have these conversations, usually I'm thinking about it later, and that's kind of where a lot of the ideas come from as well.
These are the kind of conversations you and I have had for years before we did this, and just trying to help people kind of get into that kind of mindset as well.
So if you have ideas that you would like us to talk through or maybe give feedback on, send us a voice note. You can send us a DM at House Business Podcast, and we'd love it if we could put it on the podcast and it was a voice memo. But it does not have to be an idea that's fully fleshed out. Many of these oftentimes aren't. We kind of help each other get to that point. So we'd love listener feedback or even just letting us know what you think of the ideas.
Feel free to tell us when we're wrong. If you like bikers, let me know. Can't stand them. So
you're gonna have all these bikers coming after you. I just can't wait. So
I don't know. I'm pretty set in my position on this one, and I won't take anything back.
Slow bikers, slow walkers. Mark is on a mission.
We all got places to go.
We got places to go, people to see. So again, we'd love it if you'd share this podcast. Give us your feedback. You can listen to us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and you can watch us. You can see our awesome backdrop setups. Mark is still looking for sponsors for his closet doors. So
it's still fully open.
We're still looking for sponsors always, but you can watch us on YouTube. So we'd love it if you would do that and leave comments and share it with your friends.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This right here feel like money. This right here feel like money. Ooh, money moves. Ooh, money moves. Ooh, this right here feel